What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper channel, coming to you with another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks NFL edition. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. A little change of location here. Location. But you know what? I'm going to be bringing you the same great facts that I try to give you in the MLB streets. Have we been on a run in the MLB playoffs? I'm keeping track of all the units. They're firing it up over on X at Eric Lindquist. Go follow me there. Happy to let you know whoever's going to hit a home run, because that's really all I do is just tell you when somebody's going to hit a home run, and then you bet them, and then you win money. That's kind of what we're here in the NFL streets trying to do too. Puka Nacua, been great. Jacksonville money line last week, also great, but otherwise still a subpar week by my standards. So we're going to try to pick it up here in week 6. Feel really good about the analysis. We're going to bring that to you here very, very shortly. But check out Bet365 while you're at it. It's only available in 6 states. My microphone was kind of blocking. Now it's 6 states. There you go. You got Kentucky. You just got sports betting. Congratulations for that. Iowa, Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia. Great stuff at Bet365. When you bet $5, get $150 in bet credits. That's really, really good stuff. And there's really no other strings attached. Just sign up for that at the link below. Only for 21 and over, 18 and over in Kentucky. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Alrighty, y'all. I got a lot to get to here on this Sunday slate. Again, Monday, we reserve that for the premium Discord. You can sign up for that at stochastic.com/Lindy. But every single Sunday game, starting in London in the morning, going all the way to this, just ungodly football game that I just broke down. The Giants and Bills. Who's ready for a 14.5-point spread? Me, perhaps me. But anyway, producer Jacob, let's get to the picks. I said we got more London football. Let's wake up, kegs and eggs. That's how we did it in Iowa once upon a time, because what else was there to do in Iowa? In fact, I believe this is the last of the London games, though. Not talking about Iowa anymore. And thank God, my mornings, I don't need kegs and eggs. I need sleep. Sleep is good. But hey, nice to have Jacksonville money line come to fruition for us last week, so I won't complain too much. This time around, it's the Baltimore Ravens, the Tennessee Titans. And my play isn't from the Tennessee side, but let's just start with something from them. Check out these running back splits. You got Derrick Henry, who's actually been playing less than Tajay Spears over the course of this season, but you got to understand that it's all completely game script dependent. If they're ahead, it's going to be Derrick Henry. If they're behind, Tajay Spears. This might be a really good live betting opportunity. I generally am not a huge live better, mainly because unless it's like UFC, where somebody's minus 4,000, and you just take the opposite side because UFC judging is out of control this season, you basically don't have a whole lot of advantages. They are juicing you so heavily to bet live, but there have been better opportunities in the MLB streets. I've been trying to take a look at it. Haven't pulled the trigger on anything. If I do, again, that'll be fired up on X at Eric Lindquist. But for this spot, I think you can look at Tennessee. If they're ahead, you fire up Henry. If they are behind, you fire up Spears. It's really as simple as that. Maybe the books are already accounting for it, but it doesn't seem like they are currently based on some of the lines that I've seen. It's just a question of being able to factor in that juice very, very quickly. But I digress. My play comes from the Ravens passing game. 14.5 receiving yards for Rashad Bateman. I repeat, Rashad Bateman, who is expected to be like the wide receiver 2 here. Zay Flowers was somebody who was going to challenge him for that kind of a role. You've had Marquise Brown out of here now for 2 years. Rashad Bateman's receiving yards prop is at 14.5, and he's still got 15% of the team's air yards, 10.5% target share. Is that what you wanted from him? No. But with a 10.4 ADOT, if he just overperforms on one reception here, he's got a chance. And the big thing that just all encompasses why I like this play, he's been hurt. He sat out games. He's been dinged up. He has noticeably looked limpy on the field. And I think that gives you an opportunity to buy low. We want to buy low on guys that are going to step into a larger role. And we want to sell high on guys that now, like a Cooper Kupp, where it's like, oh, you're just going to play 100% of snaps now. Maybe you look at shorting it. We're not going to be looking at shorting Cooper Kupp, but that's kind of the resemblance of this pick. You don't care. You just want the pick. Cool. Sounds good. Minus 110 at BetMGM. Over 14.5 receiving yards for Rashad Bateman. He is too talented, too good to be held down for this long. Again, 1 catch can get it done for you. 2 catches, if he doesn't get it done, I quit. Actually, I don't quit. I'll have to come to work the next day. Probably the most disturbing game on the board for me, Washington at Atlanta. You just saw a Washington team that could not have possibly played worse. You just saw an Atlanta team that could not possibly have given me a bigger headache. Now, that's because Bijan Robinson, who I'm very invested in best ball, very invested in terms of dynasty. He's my main dynasty. I had the number 1 pick. I took Bijan Robinson. Why wouldn't I? And now Tyler Allgeier's just getting 17 carries in these game scripts where it's like relatively close. Like, come on, Arthur Smith, you got to stop with it. But I will say, really fun to see Kyle Pitts come back from the grave. Oh, it's like a Halloween thing. I'm never doing that again. I'm sorry. But Atlanta, -2.5 here against Washington. Haven't pulled the trigger because, again, Washington just gave us the impression of like the worst football team of all time as they got steamrolled on Thursday night at home by the Chicago Bears. Not a great look for you, but they're giving up massive plays in the passing game pretty routinely. I think 2.5. It seems like a little bit of a trappy line here in Atlanta. I think I'm just going to wait. If this moves inside of 2.5, maybe I'll pull the trigger, but this is just an unappealing game. Looking through the prop market too, I'm not all that enamored. I do not want to play the guessing game with what Arthur Smith is going to feel on a specific Sunday. Hey, Kyle Pitts, here you go. It's probably going to be Drake London day now that I even just said that, but legitimately, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Allgeier, I can't touch this situation. Actually looked at shorting Bijan Robinson, but then I realized I have a soul and I'm cheering for my man to do things. Shout out Bijan Robinson. Go Horns, hook 'em horns, or whatever. Wait, I'm an Iowa State fan. I can't do that. Can't do this either. Atlanta -2.5, just a lean. Nothing from this game as of right now. Now, last week in the DFS side, we're talking the Daily Fantasy Sports. If you want to check out the Stokastic YouTube channel, great stuff. I'm doing a matchup show on Thursday, breaking down every single game with Lofty, who I know you guys know here over on Odd Shopper from the Wednesday show. He does a phenomenal job, and I'm actually tailing him on one play that we talked through on that Thursday, but I'm pretty proud of the way that I just jammed Jamar Chase in DFS. When you had T. Higgins ruled out, it became so easy to project him for a massive target share, the largest target share of any wide receiver on that slate, besides maybe Justin Jefferson. Rip. I'm in a glass case of emotion as a Vikings fan. But 19 targets, 15 receptions for Jamar Chase, 192 yards. Here's the difference. T. Higgins, questionable for Sunday. He's at, quote, game time decision, but he was practicing and like doing stuff. Full practice session on Friday. He's playing football. That has to draw a couple of targets away in my projection for one Jamar Chase. It just does. And here's the thing. This prop is eerily similar to what we had last week against Arizona. And now you're going outdoors against a Seattle secondary that, yes, they're absolutely abysmal, absolutely terrible, and just in every single sense of the word. But at the end of the day, Jamar Chase at 90.5 is a large number. I'm telling you, he's gone under in 3 of 5. Not that that's something that matters to me, but I look at 73 yards being the top allotment in those 3 of 5. I think 90.5 is a little bit aggressive if we have a healthy T. Higgins. Now, pay attention to the news. I'm not going to bet this unless T. Higgins is ruled out, which I kind of doubt he is. I'm only going to bet it if he's ruled in. You know what? This is what it is. Under 90.5, Jamar Chase. Higgins in, bet it. Higgins out, don't. Good talk. Glad we had it. My friends. There's only one lock on this entire program, and I can't believe that it's from this football game. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they are high in regard for me right now. I love them. Nothing like being able to capture an early morning W when you don't want to wake up. What is that song? Wake up. Why don't you put on a little makeup? You want her to. I don't think you trust. Toxicity. That's what it was. System of a Down, I think. Anyway, we are very happy with Jacksonville after that half-unit W. Ends up taking a unit down with the over plus 200 that we got there, going up against the Buffalo Bills without Tre'Davious White. Felt like books weren't really factoring that in, and the fact that Jacksonville, they got to go sip tea with the Queen and kick it. No, they didn't see. Rip. Anyway, we are definitely looking at something in this one, but not from the Jacksonville side as impressive as Trevor Lawrence has been. You got Zay Jones ruled out again here. If you had gone out of your way to take the overs on Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk earlier in the week, probably sitting in a really good spot with that combo ticket. Look at maybe single game parlaying around pieces of news. That's something that I've been toying with quite a bit. Think that there's definitely an edge to be had somewhere there. but the books have been much, much better at middling these lines, far better than they used to. So middling meaning that like somebody's ruled in or somebody's ruled out. They're basically going down the middle, and it's generally a little bit inflated towards the overs just simply because people aren't betting unders as much. Public does that. But anyway, we are not betting an over or we're taking an over. We are taking an anytime touchdown, actually, and it's from the Indianapolis side, which, shout out, the one true GOAT, Jonathan Taylor, fantasy football season 2021, was it? 2020? I don't know. He won me a lot of stuff once upon a time, and my 100K DFS day, those were all good times with Jonathan Taylor. But Zach Moss ended up being kind of the bell cow back. They took it very, very easy on Jonathan Taylor after he got paid $28.5 million, $42 million over 3 years, but $28.5 million guaranteed. Wild to see running backs get paid like that in this day and age. Reading the good news on the newspaper page. But either way, we are looking at Gardner Minshew starting here as Anthony Richardson will be out here. And you know what Gardner Minshew does better than Anthony Richardson? Throwing the football. I know nobody wants to say it. But we've seen Gardner Minshew go out and absolutely chuck it around the lot. 19 for 23 in that week 2 relief of Anthony Richardson. 27 for 44 against Baltimore. Ended up cashing us the plus 3.5 that we took there on the Colts side. And then, of course, Gardner Minshew, 11 for 14 in relief, once again gets the W for the Colts in that spot. They are now rattling off, 3 of their last 4? And Gardner Minshew's played a decent part in 2 of those. So, Zan, I kind of like what we've seen. 95.1 passer rating, 2 touchdowns, 553 yards, no picks in the process. I am a stan for Michael Pittman in this spot. I think the Jacksonville defense is going to get a little bit exploited here in the secondary. They have been such a pass funnel this season. They've held opposing rushers, that being the combo of Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. And again, I like this Colts offensive line, but they've held opposing teams to 81.6 yards rushing on the ground per game. That is 5th best in football. They're 27th in terms of yardage allowed to the wide receiver position. 262.4 yards overall, the entire gamut, also 27th in the NFL. Michael Pittman is confirmed good at football, and now he's got a, dare I say it, better passer. Definitely creates an increase in his touchdown expectation, which isn't really borne out in this data. Like, as I'm looking at the numbers, wouldn't his number go crazy without Anthony Richardson? Sure, Anthony Richardson can put them in more goal line situations with his legs, with his certain skill set, but he converts those touchdowns, it would seem, at a pretty high clip for himself. Wouldn't you agree? I've been watching him run it all over the yard. Yeah, he's got the 3 passing touchdowns, but 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. If Gardner Minshew can have any kind of success in this spot, which I definitely think he will, Michael Pittman's the reason why. I am looking at overs for him across the board, but the best of them all, the lock, is actually 2-1 money, plus 200 at FanDuel Sportsbook on an anytime touchdown for the incredible Michael Pittman. Pretty straightforward, easy lock for me at this kind of a number. If you see this at plus 180, plus 170, you can go ahead, back it up to a half unit, but I am full unit, full board behind the Colts passing game. Yes, the Colts passing game with Gardner Minshew here on Sunday against the Jags. The hoster with the mostert. Oh, baby. It's Carolina, it's Miami, and yes, everybody loves Devon Achane. Going to be out now for the foreseeable future, the next 4 weeks at least, as he was put on the IR. That's sad times, but you know what's not sad? Being able to project somebody for a lot more receiving yards than he is currently being quantified for. Just to touch base on the Carolina side, I'll at least tell you Miles Sanders has been officially ruled out for this one. Hubba. You get Chuba Hubbard there in contention for a bulk of carries. He's a cheap DFS option for the people who care about such things. But I'm looking at some of his props across the industry, and nothing looks all that appealing to me. Thought about Adam Thielen. I got a Thielen. But here's the thing. Miami, as much as I do want to attack them, do I want to attack them with Bryce Young at the quarterback position on the road? I surely do not. I think Miami will get exploited here in the secondary at some point. We saw them against Buffalo for sure get exploited in the secondary. But in this spot specifically, as much as Thielen has just taken off with the number 1 wide receiver role there, far more than the DJ Charks and the Jonathan Mingos of the world, pretty positive that this is a stay away spot in terms of betting. In terms of betting for Miami, the opposite. Tyreek Hill, looking at some of his props, I think it's really borderline on whether you want to pull the trigger there or not. I'm not going to recommend it here on the program. If I do bet it, it will be in the premium Discord, stokastic.com/Lindy. Or if you have a question about it, hit me up on Twitter/X at Eric Lindquist. Just my name. Go ahead and wear it out. Just type it in the search bar. Find me. I'll let you know if I play it. But this one is super easy for me. You got Jeff Wilson doubtful for this one. They kept him on the IR after the 21-day window open for him. For those who don't know, basically, they're going to wait till the bitter end here with Jeff Wilson and just keep him on bubble wrap, because especially now because they probably need it in case anything happens to Mostert. But that creates Salvon Ahmed as kind of your third down back. He's going to be mixed in for some of the passing game volume, but that's kind of what his role was in weeks 1 and 2. And he only saw 6 total targets for 3 catches. So I think there's a pretty good chance that you're getting Mike McDaniel, who has really proven himself as an offensive play caller, to create opportunities for Mostert throughout this game. I think you're looking at 75% of the snaps at the very least. Salvon Ahmed, if I am wrong, again, maybe there's a way Carolina gets up a score in this game. It could turn into Ahmed. He could be that guy who ends up being the any low probability for sure, but anytime touchdown, I'm not going to be dabbling there with it. You don't want to dilute your bankroll too much into anytime touchdowns. You want to be firm and fervent on the Michael Pittmans of the world. You probably want to pull it back there if you really, really want to go for the Salvon Ahmed for like a 0.1 unit kabang. What's a kabang? My wife just laughed. She's laughing at me. It's not funny. Anyway, we definitely want Raheem Mostert in the passing game. Really surprised to see just 14.5 receiving yards here, because he can get that done in a play. We've seen allotments of 36, 60 yards in receiving volume. He's had 2 13-yard outages, but those are against LA. Week 1, just kind of getting the wheels going. Week 5 against the Giants, you had Achane out there. So why is this 14.5? I get it. They could blow Carolina out of the water, but there are going to be design screens. There are going to be design plays for Mostert to do some things. I love Waddle, love Hill, love them. But Raheem Mostert being out there way more without Achane is not just likely, it's going to happen, barring injuries. So, bet this. It's just a like. This was a borderline lock, but 14.5 receiving yards. That is -120 at DraftKings. We like it. We also like Bet365. Just saying, you bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you're in one of these 6 great states: Colorado, New Jersey, Iowa, Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. Well, some parts of Ohio. But anyway, bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets, or first bet safety net up to $1,000 in bonus bets, only if you're 21 and over. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. But sign up for that if you are looking for it in the link below in one of those 6 states. Because betting 5 and getting 150 is kind of a no-brainer, right? Kind of. Not actually one, because we shouldn't say that. But it's a lot of bonus bets, so that's great stuff. Again, take advantage of that. Bet365, good stuff. Alrighty, y'all, back to the picks. The Minnesota Vikings, the Chicago Bears. As a Vikings fan, this is just the worst. I'm actively cheering against our team from winning football games because, again, that's what good fans do. They recognize a lost season. Justin Jefferson's on the IR. Justin Fields is probably going to carve us up, and we should just, develop Jordan Addison. Can't really develop KJ Osborne. He's out there all the time, but he has been so damn inefficient. He's out there running wind sprints, not in like a Marquez Valdez-Scantling kind of way. That guy is running actual wind sprints. Most snaps on the Kansas City Chiefs. Can't do a damn thing with them. Good times. But anyway, Chicago, money line. That's actually where I would be looking at here in this one. They looked really, really good on that Thursday night. They get extra days of rest here, 10 days coming in between games. DJ Moore, awfully good at football. And as I look at this Minnesota secondary, I've said it multiple times. If Daniel Hunter is not going to be getting pressure on the quarterback, our secondary can't really help you out. You need pressure on the quarterback here. This is kind of what you need in the NFL in general, but Justin Fields, looking better, huh? Please win this football game, Chicago. That is what I'm asking, because I want Caleb Williams so bad. He's so good, and you know it. Justin Fields, he's going to be, I'm not going to say it's a problem to have because we know the upside is there. You need the play calling. You need him to go out and play pickup ball like he did with DJ Moore. It's just like white man can't jump. The two of them just out there balling. I hate the Vikings. Chicago money line, please. Plus 140 at Caesars. Just a lean. Minnesota sports. I'm in shambles. Hey, I can give actual analysis again because I'm not completely torn by, sadness and broken dreams. It's just everywhere here. We got the San Francisco 49ers who have been outrageous. Shout out Brock Purdy, Brock Steady. It's Brocktober. Yeah, taking on Cleveland here. And this is a ugly football game. I actually contemplated the under of it. Want to just have it on your radar because I repeat, it is going to be a slog fest. 36.5 though is where this total sits at right now. And that is mainly because Deshaun Watson officially ruled out for this one. Yeah, you got Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt going to be splitting more running back duties, I would think, as it progresses, and you're going to need Kareem Hunt in the passing game in some capacity. But PJ Walker, XFL legend, PJ Walker getting the start here in this one. And I don't really know what to tell you other than that's not good if you're a Cleveland Browns fan. You better win this with defense. And here's the thing. I think they can. There was a part of me that wanted to pull the trigger on this. It actually bore out as pretty even in the data, which is surprising to me because, again, I really thought that coming into this one, I would have more dog interest in trying to back Cleveland at 10 points. But the 49ers have looked too damn good, and they can do it in so many different ways. But you know what happens is when somebody goes completely ballistic, you want to kind of look at shorting them the next week. Because it could be the next guy, and then the next guy, and the public sees George Kittle go completely ballistic on a Sunday against the Cowboys, but he only had 4 targets, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. Turning 3 catches into 3 touchdowns, that's not all that impressive to me when it comes down to a massive 37.5 receiving yards. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a lot. That might not seem like the number, but do you know how many times he had done that before that this season? 1. He had 90 yards, 9 targets for 7 catches against a noted pass funnel to a tight end in the Giants. That has been a thing that has happened for that defense for the past 2-3 seasons. So I write that one off. He's only been targeted 3, 1, and 4 times in the previous 3 games. Well, 3 of the last 4 outside of that 9-target Giants game. So Cleveland, they've only allowed 1 touchdown to pass catchers so far this season. That is a wild stat if you ask me. Now, again, we're not looking at shorting his touchdown allotment. I just think Cleveland, they get enough pressure on the quarterback here. They do just enough that I think San Francisco might struggle a little bit. But at 10, I thought that this would end up being an automatic trigger pull. But when you think about the scenarios of 17-3 or 13-3 as a push, that is so very, very live for this one. So I do have under interest, but primarily the under of 37.5 receiving yards for George Kittle, which is already on the card for a half unit. I said I had a Lofty special, and this is the Lofty special. The New Orleans Saints taking on the Houston Texans in Houston. Hey, they've played some really competitive ball, and that's mainly because CJ Stroud has been way better than what I anticipated coming into the season. You're going to get some right, you're going to get some wrong. But this one I was very wrong about. CJ Stroud yet to throw an interception, which we'll revisit here in a second. But giving you some injury news, Tank Dell, officially questionable now with this concussion. Generally, we've seen some very, very, very cautious deals with teams trying to make sure that these concussions don't end up carrying over. They generally sit the next week. I'm going to be paying very close attention to this because you could have an extreme funnel here going towards somebody like a Nico Collins if Tank Dell is ruled out. You could see John Mechie activated into actual duty for the first time since his Alabama days. Again, one of the better stories in the NFL, overcame cancer after his rookie season. I would like to see him at full capacity. I don't know if this is going to be the spot, though. I'm paying very close attention to Tank Dell as well as Robert Woods, who's questionable with a rib injury coming into this one. But that creates some opportunities for Marshawn Lattimore to cover Nico Collins and do an admirable job. Now, Marshawn Lattimore's had a subpar season by his standards, middle of the road grading over at PFF, but friends, This line has moved from plus 120 to plus 125 to plus 130 on the CJ Stroud side of things. And this New Orleans secondary, they can get after you. This pass rush can get after you. I respect the Saints defense. I think they're just one of those teams that are going to create turnovers, create opportunities for their offense. And in fact, there's only one game this season they haven't had an interception. Yeah, you heard me. 7 interceptions on the season, 4 of 5. The only game being against Carolina and Bryce Young. Who'd have thunk that? But didn't have an interception. CJ Stroud. He's going to get a little bit errant here with this one. This is another borderline lock, and I actually have a full unit on this one. CJ Stroud to throw an interception. He's still way better than I thought. Has anything ever been more disgusting than this New England offense? Have you watched them recently? Please tell me you haven't. I've unfortunately had to because, again, it's kind of my job too. And, well, overall, I like football, even if the brand of football New England plays brings sadness and just pain all the time. But Mac Jones, confirmed, not good. 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, has thrown over 1,000 yards. But again, that's in 5 games in the year of our Lord 2023. There are so many games that they don't even want him out there chucking it. He's gone 12 for 21, 12 for 22 in massive negative game scripts or positive game scripts for throwing. They lose 38-3 to Dallas, 34-0 to New Orleans. I don't know what to tell you other than he is a stone cold disaster. But on the road here in Vegas, I do have some interest in Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, also looking at possibly a Michael Mayer. We saw Michael Mayer. It's Halloween season after all. He had a pulse, 3 targets. I didn't even see that coming. He only had 2 coming into that entire game. So just throwing it out there, somebody to be paying very, very close attention to if you're starting to get plus 400, plus 500 in the anytime touchdown market, and you see him more involved over time. I'm not pulling the trigger this week. Just wanted to let that be known. Josh Jacobs should see a ton of volume, but looks pretty efficient with all of his props across the industry as well. But how about Ramondre Stevenson? I don't think you're looking at a bell cow back anymore. We saw 8 rushing attempts against New Orleans. We're going to see other pieces get involved here, not just Ezekiel Elliott, but Kevin Harris. He was just signed off their practice squad again here, and I think he might get involved at some point because, again, New England is searching for answers, and the things they've put out on the field are not answers. Juju Smith-Schuster going to be out for this one, so yet another pass catcher, even though he's complete dust. Going to be out for this one. Ty Montgomery's going to be on the field. Can we get him involved in the running game at some capacity? He had 1 rushing attempt last week. That's generally what he's known for. I don't know what to tell you. This is so gross. So gross. In fact, the play that actually grades out the best for me is Ramondre Stevenson under 12.5 rushing attempts. You got to assume another negative game script coming. You got to assume Mac Jones. You got to either find out if you got something now or just move on. But let me tell you, you don't got something, New England. Tom Brady, he gone. Mac Jones, not him. Well, so much for the Tampa Bay plus 3.5s that were on the board earlier this week. We've got Detroit, Tampa Bay here in the afternoon window, and lines move to a flat 3. With news that the Bucs' Mike Evans is good to go. Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions going to be out again. But the guy who actually plays in Mike Evans, that's mainly the needle moving there because Gibbs, did they make that pick still? Somebody explain it to me. David Montgomery, Iowa State, shout out again. Iowa State making some really strong appearances here on this program between Brock Purdy, incredibly good, MVP candidate, Breece Hall, busting off 70-yarders again, going to be getting a lot of running back touches here for the Jets. JATS, Jets, going to be talking about them coming up here. Oh, I'm nervous about that one. And then, of course, David Montgomery, who's been flat out a dog for this Detroit Lions team, filling in very nicely in that Jamal Williams role of 2022. 19 rushes, 109 yards, yet again going completely ballistic. If you picked him up in late in fantasy drafts, yay for you, you're happier than other people. But, gotta say, I'm really trying to talk myself into people who didn't get on the 3.5 to get in on the 3 here, and here's at least my case for it. 1, Tampa Bay's defense is really good. 2, Detroit gets back Amon-Ra St. Brown, but in what capacity? You also have Sam Laporta, who is dinged up. He's questionable entering Sunday's game. I fully expect him to play, but somehow, some way, if he doesn't, that guy has been a dude for this football team as well. He's had at least 4 targets, at least 3 catches in every single football game this season. In fact, he's a top 5 tight end in the NFL right now. Rookie. First 5 weeks, right out of the gate. That's how bad the tight end position is these days. But I'm telling you, Tampa Bay plus 3.5. This was one of my favorite bets at the beginning of the week. I only have a half unit on it, but part of it was that I was thinking that the line might move the other direction, and I didn't want to overinvest early. It's done the opposite. Jahmyr Gibbs ruled out, Mike Evans ruled in, everything broke in the way of Tampa Bay, and now you're looking at Detroit. Yeah, if you wanted to go that direction, -3, -105 over at FanDuel, whatever. It's kind of mean, kind of rude, but Tampa Bay +3. This is a lean. Be on high alert. Maybe in some ways, shape, or form, this moves back to the 3.5 that we had earlier in the week. That would be great. But again, did I mention? Bet early. Bet early. 3 games to go. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as we talk about the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. Big piece of news on the Arizona Cardinals side, actually. You got a guy in Marquise Brown, questionable for this one with an illness. Seems like they know that he's really good and just want to put him on bubble wrap because Arizona's not going anywhere. But then, well, still no Kyler Murray out there. Joshua Dobbs has been serviceable. Do you bring Wilson and Rondale Moore into the flex? That's going to be a big piece of news come Sunday for a DFS perspective, but from a betting perspective, without numbers on the board, not anything you can do about it. Will say, one of my better calls from last week as well, Rondale Moore getting involved in the rushing attack. 3 attempts, 50 yards. Again, pay close attention because he is one of those guys out of Purdue who can be that gadget player, move him around the field, and get him involved in some of those designed runs for the wide receiver position. Might have interest in trying to back them in some capacity, especially if you lose Marquise Brown, because, well, they're going to have to just throw the entire kitchen sink out there for whatever reason. Because apparently they don't want to win football games. Doesn't matter. Develop talent and move on. You would have kept, yeah, they don't care. Anyway, let's talk Rams, because this is the way more fruitful side of things. And, Cooper Kupp comes back. We didn't know what kind of a capacity he would be in, and I got pretty darn lucky. Puka Nacua. What a wonderful phrase. Puka Nacua ain't no passing phrase. We are just telling you from this program, BYU's Puka Nacua is that dude. But Cooper Kupp played nearly 100% of snaps here for the Rams, and that was wild. I did not see that coming. Otherwise, I never would have recommended the Puka Nacua anytime touchdown. Never would have come remotely close. But hey, sometimes you just get lucky. Sometimes you eat the bear, and sometimes the bear eats you. If he does, that would be bad. He had Tutu Atwell also catch a touchdown, but Cooper Kupp, 12 targets, 8 catches, 118 yards, and no tutties. Really good production, though. Started to take over the slot again, but the nice thing about Nacua is you can move him to the outside, you can move him to the slot, and Tutu Atwell, with Van Jefferson out of town now, he's in Atlanta, have fun with Arthur Smith, bro. He is going to be your wide receiver 3. He will have red zone targets because he's small, but he fits into small overhead compartments and tight spaces on the football field, so that'll be good. You know who else does? Kyren Williams. This guy is playing ridiculous amount of snaps. Now, Ronnie Rivers has been getting a little bit more involved. 9 carries we saw for him against Indianapolis. But anyway, one carry against Philly last week in a competitive spot there. Kyren Williams is going to play 90+% of snaps. It just seems like Sean McVay is going to run him into the ground. And as such, I have a ton of interest in trying to make Kyren Williams a thing here on Sunday against an Arizona team that gives up 251.4 yards through the passing game, 26th in the NFL, 124.2 rushing yards a game. That's 22nd. Instead of just taking the rushing or passing, why don't I just put them together? 86.5 rushing plus receiving yards. That's an easy like play at -117 over at Caesars Sportsbook. Fire that one up, friends. Pretty straightforward. I am really, really looking forward to this football game. The Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Jets. And why am I looking forward to it? Well, the Jets are starting to play some actual football, and Zach Wilson, other than when he's hanging out with moms, he has a pulse. He has a pulse. Yeah, he has a good life. Let's not kid ourselves. But Zach Wilson, he had been torched by the New York media. He was completely ran out on a rail. They were going to go get Kirk Cousins from my Vikings. Still do that, please, New York. But either way, the last 2 games, Zach Wilson has looked awesome, legitimately good when you go back and watch the tape. I watched the whole Kansas City game again, 28-39, 71.8% of the passes completed. Denver, I would argue he was even more impressive even though the quarterback rating wasn't there. 19 for 26. It was good to see him in a hostile environment. mean, Denver sucks, but in a hostile environment, taking it to a defense in multitude of ways. Now, it didn't show up in the box score. 0 touchdowns, the 1 pick was not a great throw, had a couple of fumbles, but overall, yeah, he's got Breece Hall, who's going to be out there playing more than half the snaps, barring any sort of injury here from now until the end of time. Sorry, Dalvin Cook. Sorry, Michael Carter. That is the guy. Shout out Iowa State. And Zach Wilson, been phenomenal here of late. And also a big piece of news to pay attention to in this one, out of the middle of nowhere. In the year of 2023, when we should be able to have beat writers ask actual questions from the media to coaches and get honest answers, we didn't find out Jalen Carter, the number 1 ranked defensive interior lineman on PFF this season, was questionable for this football game until Friday. Woke up Friday morning. The injury he sustained was in practice on Wednesday. What are you doing Thursday, Philadelphia? I know you were watching the Phillies. That's what they were doing. They were watching the Phillies. All the media was watching the Phillies. And it was like, hey, don't look at Jalen Carter. He's hurt. If Jalen Carter is ruled out, that is a gigantic, ridiculous omission from this defensive line here for the Eagles. He's a great run stopper. He is an insane pass rusher. You give him a little bit more time. You give Zach Wilson a little bit more time. Garrett Wilson is who he's going to connect with. And we started to see a little bit of rapport here with Conklin as well. And Philadelphia offensively, there's nothing I can say. They're an absolute juggernaut. I love their offensive line. They do that push play with Jalen Hurts. It's cheating, but that's a conversation for a different day. The Jets +7. I'm going to call it a lean right now because I want the hook. I want the 7.5. I will sit around on my hands and wait for 7.5. And if it doesn't come, I will pass. But that is such a gigantic half point to be getting here. Get it. Fire it up. Done. Period. End of story. Goodbye. And the last game of the night, my friends, we head to the Sunday night special. And what could be better than Giants and Bills? That was me doing my best impersonation of a Giants fan right now. Daniel Jones has been awful, and Daniel Jones will not be playing football in this game. He's getting iPads thrown at him from his coach and stuff like that. It's wild. But to be fair, he has no time back there, so hey, Tyrod Taylor, best of luck to you here in this spot going into Buffalo on the road. This has been a crazy spread to watch throughout this week. 13.5, 14, 14.5, 15, 15.5, but there remains 114.5 on the board. That is the one that you need to go find right now. If it is still available to you, you go and bet -115, 14.5 over at BetMGM, and you don't think twice, and here's why. Buffalo, as much as they just laid a dud over in London, they weren't exactly set up for success. A short week type situation where you're playing a little bit earlier in the day relative to your time zone. You have a Jacksonville team that was staying over there for an extra day. Made all the sense in all the land to be on the Jacksonville side. But Buffalo, back home against a completely depleted, completely dust Giants team. I don't know what happened to Dabble. He just forgot to coach in the year. Whatever. Anyway, we're going to bet this one without even thinking twice. -14.5 on the Buffalo side. Again, 15.5s. Don't want to see those tickets. Don't want to see them. Don't bet it at 15.5. 15, you could talk me into it if I'm in the right mood. 14.5, though, that is where you want to be getting this number. Be sensitive to the numbers. It's math, people. And that does it for another edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. You know what to do. Go to that comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays here on the Week 6 slate. Going to be a really, really fun one. I'm going to be in the premium Discord. I should know what it's called. The premium Discord, updating my betting card. You guys can sign up for that down below. Stokastic.com/Lindy. Check out Bet365 only if you're 21 and over. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in those 6 states that you see down below as well. Great stuff from them. Thank you to producer Jacob. Good stuff as always. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. See you in the MLB streets, but also best of luck in the NFL streets, Week 6.